Hey, Soul Care family. We are back with another Soul Care Conversations. Shout out to Soul Care. I am
Woo!
joined here with my colleague, Natalie.
Hello.
Hey, are you ready for another Soul Care Conversation?
I think we are. Let's see what the
Perfect.
Lord has in store for this.
Perfect. So we are talking about navigating through the holidays, very appropriate as we are in December.
Yes.
First and foremost, I just want to start off and just check, what do the holidays mean to you? What do the holidays bring in store for you?
Yeah, I think that, the whole thing of being, I think, stressed with, oh, we got to get a gift, got to get, and really show up in that capacity has really shifted over the years for me. I feel like it's shifted from that place of what I can bring to more so recognizing how much people are the gift.
Yeah.
And I think that, I think when I do think about Christmas, I do think about the connection. I know for our household, my mom loves hosting. We love hosting people over our place. I think we have a joy in it. And it's not just the fact of the people coming, but I think that one comment that many of our guests make is it feels like home. Like it's
Yeah, I
just
like
such a
that.
homey feeling. And
Yeah.
I think that during this time, I think that's what people in many ways want to feel. They want to feel connected, they want to be reminded of the gift of community that surrounds them and the gift of people, as we celebrate the gift that Jesus is in our lives.
Yeah. Wow. We were talking about moving away from the hustle and bustle of, I gotta go to the mall. It is packed. I gotta get the perfect thing. I gotta check my bank account, make sure I got this. Wait, I'm gonna go into the red so I could buy all this for this people.
And that's a big
We're
one.
moving, yeah, right, right. We're moving away from that into community and family and connection and that homey feeling of just getting to spend time with people over the holidays, as opposed to the perfect gift, or, as opposed to the materialism, and the buy this and get this and this is perfect and this is on sale and you should get it for this person. We're moving more into that connection piece with people.
Yeah, and I think that's such a big point because as you said, like this is also a time where a lot of people feel lonely, ironically. This is
Yeah.
also a time where people deal with a lot of grief. And a lot of the things that surround this time of year are related to connections to other people.
Mm,
Most people when they're grieving sometimes lost relationships. I know
right.
for me, I just recently lost a really good friend of mine in October to cancer, and I know that Christmas for one of my friends who's deeply connected to her is gonna feel really different.
Yeah.
So,
Be a change.
yeah, big change, and so recognizing people's hearts and where they're at around this time as it relates to some people who they may have celebrated with last year that are not here this year, and
Yeah.
the reality of that can really hit, in many ways more than others.
Yeah. Wow. So what you're bringing up here, I think, is a great point. We have different facets or different sides of the holidays. It seems like we have the scramble and hustle and bustle and gifts and lights and action and all that. And then we have the community and connection. We want holidays to feel warm and cozy. But you're also talking about another side of the holidays, of the grief and the loneliness. And what if people don't have those families, or what if people have lost connections? And I would love to go into that, as I think that's a big part of navigating the holidays. It's just not navigating, how do we make a good supper and have some good eggnog and open gifts.
Don't forget the sorrow.
Let's Right. Yeah. Yeah. There we go. Actually, that's good too. Where do we go into, how do we open up this conversation of diving into that other side, the maybe not so cozy side, the grief side, the loss side? I would say let's kind of navigate the conversation there, because as you said, I'm sure people are experiencing that over the holidays. Maybe they're not looking for the perfect gift. Maybe they are looking for connection to bring them out of loneliness, to help them through the grief when everyone's like, hey, you should be happy. And this Christmas movie's on TV. And they're sitting here like, yeah, but I'm struggling. Let's go into that if that's cool.
Absolutely, absolutely. I think that and I think it's so beautiful what you said, just like that internal conflict, because I think when we think about this year, we're in food basics and we're hearing all these songs and these sound
Right.
the song that's
Mariah Carey's going off, and I'm like,
that
okay.
falsetto is hitting it major
Right.
in your ears, and while the spirit of it is beautiful, what about when your spirit is broken and there's that internal conflict between how you feel you should be showing up versus how you're really feeling? I
Yeah.
don't know,
There's a that's
have you
good
experienced
there.
that?
Right, absolutely. I think I've noticed this in my own self. I've noticed this in people around me.
Yeah.
I won't name any names, but I have a friend who's just an amazing, amazing father, would give everything for his kids. And sometimes holidays, that's maybe the pressure is I gotta make the perfect holiday for the people around me. I gotta go all out. I got to push my boundaries. But at the same time, this man is dealing with really deep grief. And I'm thinking of the internal struggle that he would have to show up for Christmas, man. Maybe it's the last thing he wants to do. Maybe it's the last thing he wants to do. Maybe he wants to hide. Maybe he wants to rest. Maybe he wants to be poured into instead of pouring out. But there comes the guilt and the shame, most likely, of I gotta show up. I gotta show up. People are relying on me. And I think about maybe that empathizing with him and maybe my own life. As I've talked to a lot of therapists, by the end of the year, we're ready for that break,
Oh,
right?
yes.
And I think for myself, there's this internal pressure of I gotta do the most with my holidays, right? There's this I gotta go see the lights. So maybe head out to Niagara Falls and go see the lights, and then I gotta go to this Christmas pop up downtown Toronto because it's
Yep,
only there once a year, and then
yep.
I gotta get all the gifts for people, and I can't forget this person, and then with my girlfriend, I gotta make sure that this is perfect, and then there's also birthdays around the holidays, so I gotta
Mm,
make sure that's taken care of. And then I got to see all my friends that I haven't seen all year. And then I get 6 invites to these New Year's Eve parties and this and everyone reaching out. And I'm sitting here with that pressure,
I feel
right?
tired just listening to it.
Right. And then internally, right? Maybe that other voice is there like, I don't want to do anything. I don't want to do anything. I want to rest. I want to sleep. I want to spend time with a few people and rejuvenate. But there often seems to be as that internal struggle of, hey, this is what the holiday's all about and it's cheer. And then this side is, "Hey, I'm burnt. I'm tired, right? For other people, I'm grieving, I'm lonely, right? I think there's that duality that sometimes we miss within the holidays. It's just kind of painted one picture, right? And that's symbolized by all the lights we see and the towns and the city streets that are decorated and the shops that
Absolutely.
are just all this cheer, right? And then for me, I'm experiencing, what if I'm not feeling cheerful? Like, do I got to feel guilty about that? What if I am kind of burnt, right? Do I get labeled as a Grinch or a Scrooge, right? And then I think of those people that are warring with that, and maybe we make judgments with them, like, oh, they're not really for the holidays. Well, what if they really are grieving? What if they really are lonely? For you, what has maybe that duality or that struggle of both sides been like for you as you're navigating the holidays?
I think even another point as I touch upon that is sometimes we even feel guilty about being honest with people about where we're at. We feel like we're gonna pop that balloon, so to
Hmm.
speak, and we feel like we're gonna be the one that's bringing down the party if we're actually honest about
Yeah,
how we're feeling, and
yeah,
I think that's why it's so important to have that transparent community that you can just honestly be just authentic with, and I think there's a way to honor both. I think there's a way to be radically honest. This is hard. This year is not what I thought it would be. This year looks a lot different. My heart's hurting. While I'm happy to be with everyone, I'm still hurt by that loss. I'm reminded um, of this loss by smelling this particular scent in the house. And I think that it seems simple, but I think one of the most honoring ways that you can honor the holiday is to be honest, not just with God, but with those that are actually around you and that provide that safety to be honest, where you know you're not going to be judged, but at the same time, reflecting on what brings me joy. Because I think that if we go to that one extreme where it's just all that we're grieving, I think that there's strength that is found, as the Bible says, the joy of the Lord is strength. I think that even in the midst, I don't, and it's funny because you use that word duality, and I don't know about you, but this has been a year of duality for me. It has been the year of laughter and tears,
Yeah.
has been the year of closures and open doors. And I think that duality makes our humanity. And I think it gives language to our experiences. And so while in the midst of grieving, you can go meet up with that friend and cultivate that moment of connection. You can, go to the mall and buy that shirt that you've been looking at, or just going to the distillery, or just walking downtown. I don't know about you, I'm a lights person. I love lights no matter how dim I'm feeling. I just went downtown with a couple girlfriends and we ate on the CN Tower, the restaurant. When we looked over the lights, like that's just so like there's just something about looking at beautiful lights at nighttime that just settles. And so there's those moments of what refills me, what refreshes, and in the midst of me perhaps grieving, what is a point of joy that really connects to my spirit, connects to my soul, and that is really reflective of what this time of year means for me.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. Wow.
yeah,
I think what you're doing there, and I'm biased because this is a huge thing that I work through with my clients. What you're offering our listeners here that are navigating the duality of the holidays, you're offering them a sense of what I talk about as self-agency, right? The holidays are presented as, you know, typically one way to people. Think of the way that it's presented as it's just you got to be happy, you got to be joyful. There's no two sides to it. You have to be this way. You have to spend the money. And then we know this other side. What you just talked about there is a way of navigating through the holiday with some self-agency that says, wait, I don't have to fit in this box here. I don't have to be like the most happy person like Will Ferrell on that Elf movie. I don't have to be the happiest person of the holidays. And then I don't also have to be in this box of I'm just isolating myself. What does joy look like for me? What does connection look like for me? What is something that I want the holidays to be about? Maybe I do want is maybe if I just get out to see one light show or street that's filled with lights, maybe that's good enough for me. And I think we're talking about self-agency here of being able to define what the holidays are for you. Being able to be like, you know what, all I have capacity for is this. I don't have to feel guilty for that. Hey, maybe I do need time to grieve and I'm gonna have two of my closest friends over and we're just gonna order Swiss chalet or something, or Barrel's pepper pot, and we're gonna get some barrels and we're just gonna take it easy. I think that's super important for even myself, okay? As I think of what does self-agency look like over my holidays? Maybe I don't have to see everyone. Maybe I don't have to do everything. Maybe I don't have to just collapse and because I'm feel low energy and feel that I'm missing out. Maybe I can choose here's what is doable for me and enjoyable for me over this holiday. I think self-agency, and again, maybe I'm biased because I talk a lot about that with my clients, but it gives such a freedom. I feel like, man, I don't have to, Christmas maybe or the holidays are not defined for me by how much money I spend and get people the perfect gift. It might not also be defined by just loss itself. Maybe there is some joy and some grieving I can have together.
absolutely.
Um, yeah, and so I really like that aspect of self-agency. Any thoughts on that for you? Just to make sure that I'm not, I'm not completely off here, but what are your ideas in terms of offering self-agency to all of us that are navigating the holidays?
Yeah, I've never been a person of the box anyway, didn't like them too
Mm,
much.
I know.
I always like to push away the grain because I feel like that, and you used it in the beginning when you were speaking. You were like, "Oh, I have to," and I think that that have to always puts this setup for disappointment because if you like this expectation because and I think the problem with that is that, depending on where you're at, it's not realistic.
Yeah,
So,
it's true.
if this sense of I have to be everywhere when realistically your engine or the amount of energy that you have is not matching up to that. And so the reality, I love what you were saying, like maybe this year looks like sitting in and having friends over. Maybe this
Yeah,
year looks like, but this year is not necessarily next year. And what I've realized is that it's honoring where things are at right now, but the glimmer of hope is that every season is different.
yeah,
And just to remember that it's a season.
right.
I think
Yeah,
sometimes what
this
hits
isn't forever.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's not forever, and I think sometimes that's where the deep levels of hurt come from because we feel like what we're experiencing will never pass.
Hmm.
It's not true, just like and I think what even emphasizing the fact that we are in winter season, and winter season is kind of associated with things just kind of being, deadened, so to speak, like
Hmm.
leaves falling off, things are at a standstill. You wake up, it's dark, you go to bed, it gives that, but spring does come.
Yeah,
And so spring looks a lot different. Summer even looks different. And this time next year, given that it's still winter, but what has happened to you throughout the year and time has a way, along with intentionality of healing, that this year does not have to be what next year is going to look, but you must honor what is happening in this season because this is connected to next.
yeah. Yeah, absolutely. So what you're talking about is um, not putting our all of our contentment and joy and hope just within this one season. That this season is, as you said, just a season, right? That if I can't afford this gift or if my holiday isn't measuring up to how it was last year, that doesn't have to completely dismantle me. That, hey, this is a season and let me navigate it for what it is. But spring is coming, right? Growth is coming, sunshine's coming, right? Breakthrough is coming. And so I feel that you're saying that to not get thrown off by this season as if the holidays are extended, as if this winter is extended, as if this is all there is, but there's more than this.
There's so much more, and I say that to clients all the time. I'm like, "Your chapter is not your book. It's
Yeah,
not what it is. It's a
yeah,
chapter. The pages have to turn at some
yeah,
point." And
yeah,
so it's, "You know what, God? I am in this season. Give me the strength." Me and you were talking a bit earlier about strength.
yeah,
Give me the
absolutely.
strength to navigate through this season as best as I can. I know that it won't last, but it feels long. It feels hard. It feels as though I don't have capacity, but I do in you. And so just recognizing you're not alone.
Yeah, it's true.
And I think it's so important as well, to just have eyes to discern. We always say check up on our stronger friends. If you know somebody is navigating through a difficult period right now, and it is a time, I think that's what we take heart in our house to do. We like to invite individuals that we know that maybe are just celebrating alone, who maybe are just, they've said in passing words, "Oh, I'm not really going anywhere," but their heart is crying out, "I want community."
Yeah,
Even if the person doesn't accept, does it hurt to extend the invitation if they say yes? And if there's a no, then you honor that, but at least extend the invitation and give them the
yeah.
opportunity.
At least they know that you're there, right? That option is there. Yeah.
Exactly.
You mentioned something earlier that I would love to go in a certain direction. You mentioned the word capacity.
Yeah.
And when I think of capacity, I always think of the window of tolerance. And window of tolerance, you kind of have the what I call the up, and that's kind of the anxiousness and the overstimulation, overthinking, and then we have the down, or what I call the down, which is kind of that numbness, that sense of sadness, that sense of even dissociation. What I would love to do
Yeah.
is to give some practicality on both sides because I feel that there's people over the holidays that are like, I'm in the up, I'm stressed and I'm overstimulated and I need to slow down. And then you have people that are like, man, I'm so down and I just want some light. I want to be brought up some level over these holidays. And so maybe we can give some practical strategies or advice or practical conversation of how do we help people slow down? And how do we help people maybe bring in some of that joy or feel not so down over the holidays? Does that
Mm,
make sense as a direction?
yeah, it does. I'll probably let you start and then I'll feed off.
Absolutely. Yeah, yeah. Maybe we'll start with kind of those that are feeling up and overstimulated, overwhelmed, they're feeling anxious. I think the holidays provide us with a interesting time. For the most part, a lot of people I know, they have some days off over the holidays.
Yeah.
And here's what I've come to notice is that oftentimes especially during the holidays, especially when the hustle and bustle's going, is kind of put on the back burner. It's not necessarily priority. And sometimes it's difficult too. Sometimes we have to be unique and creative. But I challenge sometimes people and even myself to bring some of that self-care to the forefront. To be honest with yourself and say, man, I'm going to look at my year and it really hasn't been there. Now I maybe have an extended period of time off, even if that's 3 or 4 days. I need to do something for myself. And if we're feeling in that overstimulated, go, go, go stage, and it's probably not just brought on by the holidays, it's probably something you've carried now into the holidays and it's accentuated more because it is the holidays, right? I think there's this time where we need those that priority and that technique of slowing down, right? Unplugging for a minute. Unplug from anything that is a sense of the pressure to do.
Yeah.
So, oh man, I gotta do this and I gotta this and I gotta this. I think for those people that are feeling overstimulated, your body needs a breather. You're in fight or flight and you need to come into rest and digest. And sometimes that is unplugging. Sometimes that is, hey, you know what? I'm just gonna take a day with my family where we're gonna be in our pajamas,
Yeah.
where I'm not gonna answer the phone. I'm not
Yep.
going to check off something in the to-do list. I'm going to leave the garbage there and I'm not going to take it out. The world's not going to end if I don't. So
Absolutely.
what? There's a few dishes from our dinner that we cooked. We're just going to chill. We're going to take a breather, right? I think sometimes prioritizing nothing, taking a breather
That
can
part.
really help our bodies come into this rest and digest place of like, we've been running off adrenaline and cortisol this whole year. There's the pressure to do it over the holidays. You know what? I'm going to honor my body here, which is a soul care pillar. I'm going to honor my body here and I'm just going to try and do nothing. I'm not going to feel guilty for not doing the most. I'm not going to feel guilty for not getting something checked off of my to-do list. What we got to remember here is you matter. Your body matters. Your nervous system matters. Your well-being matters. Your capacity matters, right? And in doing this, the cool thing is we talked about extending beyond. This can extend beyond the holidays into 2026, that we all love a reset or we all love going into the new year with something different, is it can set this kind of precedent of how do I honor my body? How do I honor my capacity in myself? How do I recognize that life is not sustainable in the go, go, go all the time? How do I see this as really caring for myself and that I don't have to feel guilty for that? But I think as people are in that up place, as they're overstimulated, overwhelmed during the holidays, learn to and challenge yourself to say no, right?
Yep. You know that.
7 dinners that you're going to try and get to all because you want to please people or you want to, not, as you said, pop people's balloon or their bubble. No, I'm going to choose one dinner this year.
And just add, let's not add the fact that some of the families that you may be dealing that may be toxic. That's a whole different subject.
Mm,
And depression comes with that much less choosing
right.
to say, you know what? I'm gonna skip
Absolutely.
dinner. I don't think I have
Yeah.
capacity to.
I don't. I
Yeah.
don't. I can be honest. I don't have capacity for that. Let me honor that. Let me not see that as, oh, I'm letting people down. Let me see that as I'm actually caring for myself. I'm honoring my mental and emotional and even physical well-being. And I just need to slow down. And so I think if I were to clarify this,
Yeah.
it is finding ways to slow down. So find those strategies for you to slow down. If that is doing less, if
Yeah.
that is saying no, If that is taking your to-do list and locking it away in a safe for a couple of days, if that is maybe just doing small little things, taking your all these things and cutting it in half or cutting it in quarters and doing small little things that still give you joy but aren't burning you out. I think that's kind of my advice for people that are stuck in that overwhelm, overstimulated is find ways to slow down. What are those things for you? I know for me, it's most likely I need time in silence and solitude.
Yeah,
For me, I need it. It's something that I do every morning, but over the holidays especially is, and when I have that extended time off, I need time in silence and solitude. So there's one, and that comes with saying no, right? If someone's like, "Hey, wait, we got to do all these things," I might be like, "Hey, actually, these are days are reserved for myself, and I would love to. Maybe next year, or maybe we can do something in the new year."
absolutely.
But I gotta say no. So find those ways for yourself to slow down and recognize them as ways of honoring your mental, emotional, and physical well-being.
Yeah. Yeah, that's really good. I think that that's important. It's funny. I was just speaking with a client a few days ago, and she actually had a week off, and
Mm,
I really loved it because I asked her. She's like, "Yeah, I just, I woke up, I had my session with you, and I'm literally gonna go sleep. I'm just gonna go and sleep because she's a mother of two, and just maximizing the kids are at school, so I'm gonna sleep." And I think she told me the next day she was gonna go get a massage done for herself, and I said, "Absolutely." Good for you. Good for honoring what you need. That's 1, to slow you down, which was the rest, and 2, fill your tank back up, which
yeah,
one of those things for her was, as you were talking about body care,
yeah,
but getting that massage. I don't think that when we think about slowing down, when we think about sometimes healing, like we are tripartite beings, we are
mm,
soul, spirit. And I think that as we are intentional about what slowing down looks like and what we do in honoring these seasons, it's looking at all three aspects. And I love the fact that you brought the body in that. I don't think as we think about how important it is that our bodies actually
yeah,
slow down and how much we're on rest, not just mentally slow down, but physically actually rest a minute. I'm
yeah,
able to sleep in a little bit later on the weekend as I went out with a couple of girlfriends and we stayed over at a hotel, and I can't tell you, as a mom, I'm used to my body just clocks in at 6,
right.
and being able to just sleep in until 9, 9:30, it's not so late for everybody else, but for
Yeah, yeah,
but that did so much in terms of just, yeah, I did this for me. I did this for me, and it's a reset. And I think that let me add this as you were saying, like, as we go into the new year and we want to, new year, new me, that's not sustainable if you don't develop a rhythm. I think we talk about this often when we go on vacation and we're like, vacations are great, but I think it's even more of a gift to yourself to actually I think the hope, as my colleague was sharing, is that as these shifting in patterns are enveloped, that what it will really ultimately lead to is that you recognizing how worthy you are of slowing down and
yeah,
ultimately developing rhythms of rest and slowing
absolutely.
down throughout your not just Christmas, but throughout your year so
Yeah,
that whenever you feel the hustle and bustle culture calling you, that
yeah,
you are brave enough to say against everything, I'm actually gonna choose to slow down
yeah.
in
And
this.
what better way to do it or better time than when the hustle and bustle is really trying to get at you, right? And maybe that's our challenge for some of our listeners is as you are feeling that pressure, that overstimulation, anxiousness, that fight or flight during this time, that you would challenge yourself. You would take these words in, you would reflect on them, meditate on them, pray on them. I'm worthy enough to slow down, to care for my body, soul, and spirit. And Natalie, this kind of brings me into, well, what do people do in the down when they're feeling like they want to come up just a little bit? They want to pick me up. They're stuck maybe in that sadness, that numbness, that despairing. Any thoughts from you of what are maybe some practical strategies or things that we can help give our listeners to bring them up a bit?
Absolutely. I think one of the tactics of the enemy in many ways, I call it Operation Isolate and Destroy. I think that when we're in isolation, that gives more room for internal dialogue. It gives more room for you to be able to have conversations with yourself that maybe are not the greatest. I think that although you don't want to, again, extending what those internal conversations are looking like with somebody that you actually trust gives room for I think you'd be so surprised how sharing what's on your heart and what you're feeling can extend somebody else to the Bible talks about iron sharpening iron, and I think that
This was it. That 2 seconds before that, that popped into my head. We're just on a prophetic wave all day today, even
literally,
before this podcast started. Yeah,
you
that's
already
good. Yeah,
know.
yeah, yeah,
But I can't even emphasize how many times I have been in a place where I've needed to be sharpened, and it wouldn't have happened if I kept my mouth closed. It wouldn't have happened if I wasn't sincere or honest about where I was. I mean, there's just some people that no matter how down you are, when you come around them, you know you're not gonna be down anymore when you're in their presence. And so it's kind of like no matter even though you are there, just that text, "Hey," you may not even wanna talk, that's fine. How about just texting the friend and saying, "Hey, can you pray for me? Today's a real hard
yeah,
day."
yeah,
Sometimes that's all you have the strength to do. Sometimes, just if you do have the capacity to do that, calling that friend and saying, "Hey, do you mind just taking a moment to just remember me? This is really hard." Or I think sometimes individuals who are in that place, and I heard CeCe Winans talking about it, sometimes being in that place can almost feel like the curtains are really shut and dark. And I think sometimes you need somebody to just come and
yeah,
open
yeah.
that curtain.
I think the cool thing here of what you're talking about, I think isolation and being able to step out of that is so important. And a reminder that's coming to my mind to share is that it doesn't mean you have to go to the party, right? Not being in isolation doesn't mean I have to be around the most people. It can
No.
even be one. And that's where you're talking about iron sharpens iron. And if I go to the neurophysiological side of it, the vagus nerve, being in ventral vagal
Love that.
is a lot of that nerve is up here, and it comes with just being with someone. Like even this, even a FaceTime call,
Absolutely.
how our mirror neurons are going, how our ventral vagal system is stimulated. It actually brings us into this place of being able to have some sense of joy, being able to have this sense of pick me up that we're talking about, to feel supported, to feel safe, to feel cared for. It doesn't have to be going to all the events where you might just end up feeling more lonely. It could just be that one person. So I love that you're talking about isolation and a reminder that it could just be meeting with that one person. Doesn't have to be the most eccentric. You don't have to have a massive dinner. Again, order some takeout, have a FaceTime call, but even that one person has enough to impact your emotional system, your
Yeah,
neurobiological body physical system,
yeah.
and your spirit, as that iron sharpens iron. So I didn't mean to take that from you, but it's just exciting me because I think you hit the nail on the head. Isolation can keep us so down, and it can get us in a cycle, a spiral. It can feel so hard to get out of. But when you're talking about just even bringing in that one person, opening that curtain, bringing some light in, I think that's so important. But yeah, but pass it back to you. Continue.
Yeah.
You're on a roll. But yeah, is there more you have to say about isolation, or is there anything else that you find could be a pick me up for people? Yeah, during these times.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know about you, but I grew up with the whole sense like music is life. And as you were talking about the vagus nerve, something that's very interesting is that music is deeply connected to the impact of the
Yeah,
that's why when you're really down, why worship, why being in a place of gratitude and singing, not just any song, but songs that breathe life, give you strength. And so sometimes I even just like playing certain instrumentals
same.
Yeah, I'm an instrumental. Sometimes I'm just in the vehicle and I'm just playing some music. I'm playing instrumentals, and I'd be so surprised how what is being released from the song actually is I can feel the impact literally in my body, and that's obviously, as you clearly and beautifully pointed out, the vagus nerve is such an integral nerve in that area. And so, again, this kind of feeds into despite where I am, yes, community is beautiful, but also reflecting on what are the beautiful things that are around me? What are the things that still are connected to me in very deep ways and tapping into those things on
Can I
days.
jump in here for a second?
Yes, yes, please.
Okay, yes. Okay. This is something that's exciting for me because it connects to what you talked about with music, right? And that having such a good impact on our body and our nervous system. And if I take it one step further, not to deny music, but even one step further, something that we learn in trauma therapy that's big in healing is this idea of playfulness, play and playfulness, which really music can bring in. Music is definitely a part of that, but this play and playfulness we're learning has such a great impact on our nervous system, on our bodies. Again, it doesn't have to be the biggest thing, but as you're around over the holidays, even with that little capacity that you have, because sometimes playfulness and music can be difficult when we're feeling in that place of despair, but it
Yeah,
doesn't have to be a lot. It could be that instrumental that has enough to spark nostalgia and spark this great part of your memory system of narrative memory, sensory memory that you're like, I can bring that little pick me up. And moving into play and playfulness, it can be something as much as a board game with one person that maybe you used to play during the holidays. It could be something as getting someone else to drive you because you don't have capacity
yep,
past those lights, and just having this awe and wonder, this playfulness, this childlikeness, which again, we're talking about body and mind and spirit. Isn't it
absolutely.
amazing that the Bible talks so much about childlikeness and being able to step into that? Tell me how that's not just something for our spirit, but even in the um, neurobiological, physiological, whatever, playfulness and childlikeness is actually something that can bring us a sense of rejuvenation, joy, comfort, safety, contentment. And so I think your music just sparked that in my mind of moving even beyond music and a board game or something that makes you laugh or just some sort of playfulness that you haven't had to have before. Go out and roll around in the snow and make snow angels. If you haven't in how long, have that cup of cocoa. If carolers are knocking on your door, and you just naturally push them away, open the door and just receive. There's this sense of play and playfulness that we can bring in. And the cool thing is that is so deeply embedded in us that we don't have to have the most energy and capacity for that. Play and playfulness can follow us anywhere. It can just be even this glimmer of it. But that is something that I believe, both for our spirit and for our body and our emotions, that can actually be this thing that brings us up, gives us a little bit of a spark, gives us some of that joy, some of that hope, some of that opening the curtain and bringing the light in. I love that you talked about music because it just sparked all that in, like, oh man, that really fits into play and playfulness.
Yeah, I agree. I went to go pick up my daughter the other day, one of the kids, because I seem to be one of the parents that a lot of the kids gravitate to, so I was going to pick up my daughter. I just felt this big snowball hit my back, and just hearing one of the kids, "Ha ha, Miss Natalie,"
Yeah,
and I'm like, "Oh, yeah?" And then we started
yeah,
having, a little but yeah, just those moments of just again, like, kids point you to that. They point you to this level of lightness and laughter, and just even seeing kids go down the huge hill with the toboggan, or getting on that with my daughter, or going ice skating, if they have a school trip, like, that's actually one of my biggest that's actually one of my refuels for my tank is actually playfulness. Like,
yeah. It's really good.
um, I'm that parent that's on every school trip with the kids
Yeah,
because I love going to Wonderland. I love going on the rides. I love it connects me to this place of just this younger part of Natalie that, yes, I got to experience that stuff when I was younger, but in the midst of all the adulting
yeah. It's
too,
true.
I think it just feeds that inner part and that younger part of us that still really, in many ways, exists, but sometimes needs to be fed more than we realize it needs to.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's the thing that gets cut off. If I think of, like you said, as we're adulting and we're in the busy part of our, what is it, Q4, and we're about to navigate the holidays that can be busy
Yeah.
or can be sorrowful. Play and playfulness are the things that are cut off, right? It doesn't seem like a priority. It doesn't seem like something that's viable or something that should be important. But we're recognizing for our spirit, for our mind, for our bodies that play and playfulness are so much more important than we realize. And we get to connect, as you said, with that inner child, that inner part of us. And I think that's so important. If I think of the two ways that we just categorize, is that when we're in that overwhelmed stage and we want to slow down, that even play and playfulness can be there. And slowing down, instead of my to-do list, I can just have a nice hot cup of cocoa and watch a silly movie with my friends or my family, or I can build a snowman. Or if I'm feeling down and I have no capacity and the light really isn't there, I can connect with even just that one person and play some music and reminisce or play a board game or whatever it is. But that play and playfulness seems to transcend whatever we're in, to really help us if we need a slowdown, if we need a pick me up. That play and playfulness seems to be something that I think can help us in no matter what stage or category or place that we're in.
Yeah, and I think that we would definitely be doing a disservice if we didn't speak to the spirit of an individual
Yeah,
and that third part of how we connect where we're at as it relates to our relationship with God.
yeah,
I think for
absolutely.
those who are on the hustle bustle and then just are feeling so tired and exhausted, I'm just reminded of, Matthew 11:28 to 29. "Unto me, all who heavy laden, uh, because the yoke of Jesus is easy and he offers lightness." And so to those who are perhaps feeling just weight in just being busy and on the go and feeling the weight of responsibilities and the weight of everything you've got to do and the weight of what I've got to do, might I invite you into the lightness that's found in Jesus? It's not heavy over here.
Yeah,
You'd be so surprised how that which you feel that you have to carry is made light by taking a moment, as my colleague beautifully said, to just be reminded of this moment, the present, really opening your eyes to see like what really matters in this moment. Is it really going to benefit you stressing over the dishes? Really going to benefit you by stressing over what needs to be done? Or is there an invitation to really take in what's around you in the moment, who's around you, and what's happening around you? And, likewise to the person who's feeling really down and just going through something really hard, I'm reminded of Psalm 34:18 to 20, that he is indeed close to that which is of a broken heart. And I think one of the, again, dualities is experiencing grief. And I liken it to that of a vine dresser and pruning. Pruning feels horrible. Pruning
it hurts.
takes you out. It feels, yeah, it hurts because a lot's being snipped off. But can I remind you that, and I was sharing this with a client who then in turn shared it with our congregation, that it is actually in the pruning that the vine dresser or the farmer or whatnot, or the gardener is actually the closest to the, and so ironically, Psalm 34 reflects that he is close. In the time that hurts the most, he is close. He is near. He sees Elroy, and he's very aware of what you're navigating, and the promise is he'll never leave you.
Yeah. Wow. I think that is a beautiful, the word that's really standing out to me that you shared was invitation. we have an invitation in this holiday no matter what. I know we categorize it and we're talking about being outside of the box or not. Categorization, you could feel anywhere in that. Not to box you in, but just for sake of conversation, no matter kind of what end of the spectrum you feel yourself on, and the overwhelmed or uh, the despairing, that there is an invitation and a place for you for God to truly show up for you. As you said, He sees you, right? It reminds me of everything that you shared with rest and a God who does see you. It's lightness. It reminds me of Psalm 68 that God shared with me the other day, and He was like, "Josh, what stands out to you in this?" And there were like four things. It was joy, that He is a father to the fatherless.
Mhm.
There was He has us in His arms. And there's a sense of strength. And so I think of, if I put that into an invitation for those two categories we're talking about, the up or the down. God is a holistic healer, no matter what end or in between you're at. And so I think of like those two categories, and I think of joy for the person that's been down. I think of fathered and the arms for the person who's just been scrambling and just needs this place of rest and comfort. And I think of strength for both of those people. And so one psalm, one scripture, and I'm thinking like, wow, there's an invitation for everyone that we've talked about today, those that are grieving, those that are full of sorrow, those that are anxious and scrambling, that God can come and bring, as you said, rest, and He sees you. And as Psalm 68 talks about, He can come in with joy and strength and comfort
Yeah.
and rest. And I think that's so important. That one of the coolest things I'll say, I'll be a bit transparent here, is that for me, as I spend time with God
Mm.
in scripture, beyond scriptural memorization, beyond the need for apologetics, beyond having the right theology, when I spend that time in relational meditation on Psalms like these, the scripture truly becomes alive and active. It's not just a wishful thinking or, oh, if I apply this, if I think on this and memorize it and say it, it'll happen. Scripture becomes alive and active on this relational level where I truly feel joy where I didn't have any, where I truly feel held and comforted when I've felt just so scrambled, and I truly felt the strength when I felt no capacity. And I
Right.
think that's our invitation for people listening, is that there's an invitation from God for you in this season
Yeah.
to be what you need Him to be in this holiday, to have that comfort if you're needing comfort, to find that in Him. And not only that, but is the work that Nat and I do, seeing how much scripture and the spiritual stuff is so correlated and connected with the physical and mental and emotional. That as God comes in with this invitation and He gives you this place of comfort and rest, watch your body relax. Watch your emotions start to shift. Watch your mind start to find a place of rest.
Yes.
And I think that's so beautiful. I think this is a great place to
Mm.
wrap up, is that there is something for everyone in order to navigate the holidays this year. And that can come through God and play and playfulness and being like a child, and iron sharpens iron, and community and just slowing down. I think this should be an encouragement to everyone listening, that you are not left without support, strategy,
Right.
technique, direction
Yeah.
during this holidays.
Yeah.
Any last minute thoughts or summaries from you, Natalie? From any wise words from you to wrap up?
Yeah, no, I've really appreciated this conversation. I think it's been full, it's been rich. I'll just honestly summarize it by saying, just to spin off of what you were saying in terms of just in terms of the invitation is yes for God to meet you, but He can only meet you when you're honest. And I think that's why the work that we do is so honestly, is such a gift to so many, Josh, because I feel like we give the invitation. I don't know about you, but I always liken this work when I speak with clients like this. Literally, we're in a season where we honor Emmanuel, and it means God with us. And I feel like we literally get in the emotional dirt with our clients, and we sit there and we rummage it through. And somewhere in the midst of rummaging through all of that, they meet him. And I think that only happens when you are honest about where you're at. That's where he meets you. He can't meet you in what you cover up. He can only meet you in what you unveil. And that's where we get to meet him as El Roi, the God who sees us, or El Rohi, the God who sees us, or Jehovah Jireh, the provider. And I'll say this as well, just as 2 lines that I really want you to take in. I have permission to slow down and rest. I give myself that permission to slow down and rest. But I likewise give myself permission to experience joy. Give myself the permission to experience joy. Receive that today.
Good. Y'all, we could keep going and going
Seriously.
on this conversation. There's still so much more to unpack and say, but I thank you all for tuning in to Nat and I in terms of navigating the holidays. And I believe, Natalie, this is something that I'm also going to take for myself as well. And
So
I'm sure that it's something, yeah, you're going to take for yourself as well. And we say that in a way of let's all kind of join together and navigate the holidays well, navigate it in this time of maybe slowing down or finding joy. Let's encourage each other together. Don't matter for therapist, client, coach, person who's never done therapy before, Christian, non-Christian. Let's navigate this holiday together, supporting each other, encouraging each other, checking in each other, bringing joy to each other, bringing comfort and safety, and bringing a place to slow down and just get to be our childlike selves. This is all of our invitation to care for ourselves during the holidays.
absolutely.
Yeah,
And
perfect. All right. Yeah,
playfulness,
yeah.
nice touch.
Yeah, there we go. Well, thank you. Yeah. Soul Care family, thank you so much for joining us on our Soul Care conversations, navigating through the holidays. We so appreciate you being with us, navigating even this conversation, and we will see you in the new year. See ya.